Good evening, everyone. Tonight, I want to change the way you think, about cancer at least, and how we treat it. Because as President Broadhead alluded to, Duke is right now at the center of a worldwide revolution of how we treat this dreaded disease. So what is cancer? Well, we each have 50 trillion cells in our body, some of us a little more. And they all start out with exactly the same genetic code. So what causes one or two of these cells to suddenly change, to suddenly develop a different genetic code, and somehow begin dividing uncontrollably and become a cancer? Well, the truth is nobody knows. And I think that's why we've been naively treating patients with cancer with poisons like radiation and chemotherapy, in an attempt to block pathways that cancer cells use to divide, maybe like this, or all these ways. And yet the cancer evolves around these pathways and continues to divide. And moreover, blocking these particular pathways actually hurts normal cells as well. And so patients that we treat with cancer end up losing their hair. They lose their appetite. And I think they lose their dignity. The truth is, we aren't really winning the war against cancer, at least not right now. What allowed me to think differently about cancer was my opportunity at Duke. Duke allowed me to think forward about cancer. And I think that was much like your experience. You were able to diverge your thinking from the ordinary when you came to Duke and think differently about things. And during my Ph.D. at Duke, which admittedly was my first of 3 Duke degrees, which I realize is a little embarrassing, but at least you know who I root for, I started to think about cancer very differently. And I stopped thinking about it as dividing cells, which had been the traditional way of thinking about it. And I started thinking about it as mutations, as particular changes in what a cancer cell looks like and how that cancer cell is different from a normal cell. And it was that change in perspective, that subtle change in perspective, that's really made all the difference. Because I started to wonder if there might be an opportunity to use our immune systems to treat the cancer instead of the poisons from outside, like radiation and chemotherapy. Our immune systems consist of billions of cells that are constantly surveying our body to see if cells are different in some way. And usually what they're tasked with is finding cells that are infected by viruses and bacteria, and seeing if the scaffolding of these cells or the proteins that make up their framework are different in some way. And these foreign invaders, these viruses or bacteria, make proteins that are so different that our immune system can recognize them. And I wondered if our immune systems could somehow recognize cancer as well. But the problem is that the changes that occur with cancer are so subtle that our immune system simply ignores them. So I wondered, could we take a protein that has exactly that same mutation as in the cancer cell, and could we play a trick on the immune system? Could we combine that with a tetanus shot or a polio virus? And would the immune system respond to the tetanus or the polio the way it was trained to, and somehow be tricked into responding to the cancer as well? It was a bold idea, but it worked. And this has changed the lives of thousands of patients now from work done directly at Duke. Our data was recently published in the journal Nature. And as President Broadhead alluded to, the work on the polio virus was recently presented in 60 Minutes. And just like that, Duke Health changed the world and changed the way people are treated with cancer. So what does this mean? Well, it's personal. My dad was diagnosed with cancer 2 years ago. He's been through 2 surgeries. I don't think he can make it through another one. He's had chemotherapy, which left him bald. And his hands were so numb now that he can't do the things he enjoyed. And I came to Duke to change that. This is Amy. She was a patient who came to see me 15 years ago now. She had just won a beauty pageant. She had just gotten married. And she had just developed a brain tumor. I knew that it would kill her in a year. And she sat there and naively asked, "Can I have children?" I mean, wow. So we treated Amy with a vaccine. And this is Amy today, 15 years later. Her husband of 16 years. And 2 children. I think it's in fun, but she sends me a Christmas card every year and says, "Here's my 2 kids you told me I couldn't have." I'm glad I was wrong. And then there's Ryan. He was an entrepreneur from St. Louis. And he too wanted children with his new wife, and he had everything. He was a very successful entrepreneur. And then he had a seizure. Just like that. And then he had an MRI. And then he had a brain tumor. A bad one. The worst kind, actually. And a big one. So Ryan came to see us, and we treated him with the vaccine as well. Imagine the courage it takes to try something totally new when you're facing death. Well, this is Ryan today, and his family, and his 3 children. All of whom, of course, he wants to matriculate at Duke as well. We haven't always succeeded. Our best at Duke, which you've heard is damn good, isn't always enough, at least not right now. These tumors will hide their mutations, the mutations will change, other cells with different mutations will take over, and the cancer can come back. But our work isn't done yet either. And every day at Duke, I get this wonderful opportunity to think about what's next. And so I wondered if it's possible for us to use this trick of the immune system to treat many patients with cancer safely and successfully. Could we be a little more proactive? Do you think it's possible that we could use the same approach, a vaccine, and instead of treating patients like Ryan and Amy who want to have children, could we vaccinate all children against cancer and eliminate it altogether, and the word cancer would simply vanish from our language? Imagine if we could do that. Imagine if you were part of that. Well, if you're part of Duke, you are part of that. Thank you.